Welcome back to the Full Force Fathers podcast, episode 79, and we have a good one for you in store today, ladies and gentlemen. What's going on, Dave?
Not much, man. Things are good here in the old Nashville area. For the last week, I've been waking up to mid to upper 50s for a workout. The days are in the upper 70s, low 80s. It is paradise. It only took us 9 months to get here, but yeah, we're there.
You know what's funny? It took you 9 months to get there, and you're only going to last for like a month, and then you're going to be back in this shit.
True. Casey reminded me the other night, though, that we probably missed it in the spring because I was so busy with projects around the house. So it probably was nice then, too. We just scooted right past it. But anyway, things are great here, man. Can't believe it's episode 79.
Yeah, dude, 79, good. The weather's taking a turn here finally, too, which is good. We finally are in the 90s. You know, the last 3 or 4 mornings has been 70, 71 on Andy and I when we go for our walk. My fucking race is next weekend, which is just even crazier to think. I can't wrap my head around that yet, but I'm ready to rock and roll. Dude, 50 miles is going down. I've been watching more and more YouTube videos recently on people that have done their first 50 or just looking for that extra little bit of edge or motivation or tidbit that I can pick up from somebody that's done them. And, dude, I can't believe it, dude. It's like, it's getting to the nitty gritty, dude. We're getting close now.
Yeah, you are. You are getting close in that, man. I can't wait to well, first off, see how you do, but then also see the recovery process on the backside. That's gonna be something.
Yeah. I mean, I'm ready. I think the recovery is going to be interesting because it's a whole new beast, man. I've never done it. And until you do one, you just don't know. So we'll see how I recover. We'll see how I get through it. I know I'm good up to 30. You know, after that, fucking the old Father, Son, Holy Spirit, and where the hell's the Tylenol?
That's fantastic.
But anyway, so 79, we got a great show in store. We're gonna let you hop right in, Dave. Hop right in there with these numbers. Number 79, kick us off with the NFL.
Yeah, we have been kind of scraping the barrel here the last few weeks in the high 70s, but I am excited for next week when we get to 80. One of your favorite players is there, and we start getting some receivers. We start getting some cool stuff. So the 80s are coming, more recognizable people. But let's take advantage of number 79 here. Let's talk about some more people that people of our generation probably haven't heard of. One of them, offensive lineman Forrest Gregg, named to the All-Decade Team of the 60s and the All-NFL Team of 100. He was an All-NFL 8 years, selected to 9 Pro Bowls, and he's known as the Iron Man as he played in 188 consecutive games. Pretty legit. These guys that are just on all-decade teams that, I mean, he was almost for an entire decade was the all-pro at his position, which to me is just, that's incredible to be that good at a position for that long.
That is, man. And like you said, a lot of us mid-30s, late 30s, early 40s, we have no idea who these people are besides research that we find on them. But I do think it's cool to go back and see who they are because these guys, like the next guy, Rosie Brown, same thing. Sure. All NFL, 8 years, 9 Pro Bowls, second player to enter the Hall of Fame on their offensive line credentials alone. I mean, I didn't know that was a thing, but apparently that's a thing. You know, but like you said, back then, the guys used to play both ways.
They used to play both ways. There were a couple of them were kickers, offensive linemen that were kickers. I mean, really? I mean, I'm kind of thinking the Cowboys should go and see if Zach Martin can kick because their kicking game's atrocious. But this may be the worst. It's time to go back to offensive lineman kicking.
It may be the worst stretch of kicking by like a legit NFL Super Bowl contender I've ever seen in my own life.
It's pretty bad. After the way Brett Maher finished the season last year, and then their kicker came in week 1 and missed his first extra point. I will say he dialed it in after that. But I mean, what are we doing?
Who was the kicker that you guys had before Maher who was legit? You had him for a bunch of years. What was his name? He was good. Was it Bailey? No, it wasn't Bailey.
Dan Bailey, yeah.
Was it Bailey? Yeah. He's good. He was good.
Yeah, he was fantastic. Yeah. Until he wasn't. But neither here nor there.
Yeah.
How about Bob Sinclair, Hall of Famer, started 117 of his 119 career games, 5-time Pro Bowler, 5-time All-Pro.
Yeah, not Forrest Gregg type numbers, 188 straight, but 117 out of 119 in the NFL is pretty damn good.
Yeah, I'd say. Hey, we actually had one in Major League Baseball that stood out. Jose Abreu. Not fantastic. First baseman, 287 career hitter. But there was somebody that's actually at the number 79. So I thought, why not? Let's put it on the list.
Yeah, that's good. And I went right to NASCAR because the local race expert here. We had Frank Warren, 348 starts, 23 top tens, and only one top five. No wins, but hey, that's a lot of starts. I mean, that's another longevity. Because what do you run? 30 races a year in NASCAR? Is that how many races? I don't really know.
I mean, you are the resident professional on NASCAR. I'm not quite sure. That sounds about right.
Yeah.
Because I think they run from February to about October or November. So could be.
Yeah. Yeah. And, no wins, but 348 starts, 23 top tens. I mean, not terrible. And then in soccer, it's been a while since we had a soccer player, but once again, we're up in these upper numbers. We're not going to see a lot of football stars, but there is one, Frank Kessie he actually plays internationally. He's from the Ivory Coast, but he's played for all the big clubs. He's played for AC Milan. He's played for Barcelona. And he's another interesting one though here. He's now playing for Al Hilal, or however you pronounce it, in that Saudi Pro League where Cristiano Ronaldo went and Karim Benzema went and Sadio Mane went and Neymar. A lot of these guys, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole because I don't really care enough, but you don't watch soccer, but there's some traction behind this league. And it's kind of scary for the Premier League, for La Liga, for the Bundesliga, for Serie A. Dude, they're getting stars, and they're paying them way more money than anybody else can pay them to go play for these teams. Like, I don't know if anything ever comes of it, but it's kind of scary if you're one of those leagues.
Is it kind of like golf, though, where you can't watch any of it anywhere? Because what's the point? Like it's great. They're getting paid. That's awesome. But, if nobody can watch it.
See, I don't know about Europe, if anyone in Europe can watch it, but, at least in America, NBC Peacock's got the Premier League, so you can watch it. The Bundesliga is on ESPN Plus. You can watch it. Serie A, I don't know if they're still with ESPN, but they were. La Liga, you can watch some games on ESPN Plus. ESPN's kind of got the soccer market on lock. And then same thing with MLS. MLS you can watch on a bunch of networks, but no one watches the MLS anyway. So, but yeah, I have no idea about the Saudi Pro League where you can watch it. I'm not convinced, but I'm sure somewhere in Europe you can get it because you're obviously closer to Saudi Arabia. I mean, and with all those European stars, I would highly, highly doubt that people in France and Spain and Portugal, where like Karim Benzema and all these stars play for those national teams playing Saudi, and they can't watch them. I highly doubt that's the case, but we could be wrong.
Right.
But I don't, like I said, I don't know. I mean, I've never seen anything in America about it being able to watch it. But like I said, the time change is probably so whack. It's kind of like watching the Australian Open, like 16-hour time difference. I mean, it's kind of hard for anybody to watch it when there's a 16-hour time difference. So, but anyways, so that's our number 79. That's our number 79 list. Once again, football heavy, American football heavy, but a couple extra different ones to throw in there today, mix it up. But I'm hopping right into our Bible verse today, Dave, because it goes with exactly what our topic is, and we love our topic today. This is a show that Dave and I have talked about and brainstormed about for a while, but we never did it. I don't know why, but we're doing it today, and we're talking about skilled trades. But Bible verse comes from Psalms, Psalm 90, verse 17. May the favor of the Lord our God rest on us. Establish the work of our hands for us. Yes, establish the work of our hands. Now, skilled trades, working with our hands is everywhere in the Bible. Okay? There's so many Bible verses. Thessalonians, Ecclesiastes, Ephesians, Proverbs. The list goes on and on talking about working with your hands in the Bible. And that's the topic of today's show. We want to talk about kids, our kids, your kids, kids in general, younger kids when you have kids, and maybe taking a look outside the box, which was the norm back when our parents were younger, and maybe not doing the college route, the college debt thing, and going into a field, a trade, a carpenter, a plumber, an HVAC guy, you name it, and in construction. And we just wanted to bring this up today because Dave and I have had many topics and conversations in the past about Bryce, your little man, B-man. and how he loves to just,
Mm-hmm.
it's always a construction truck. It's a dump truck. It's a this, it's a that. You know, he sees you doing remodels. You know what I mean? You're Tim the Toolman Taylor. That, you know, he looks right up to his dad like it's nobody's business. And we wanted to discuss how, you know, maybe let's take a look at, you know, our kids and what they're doing post high school.
Yeah, I think it's a great topic, especially for right now, as you start seeing some of the jobs change and the things that are going on in our society change. You hear about a lot of the things that are going on in colleges, the indoctrination that's happening there, the sky high tuition that's going. I mean, the rate of tuition increases is far and away more than inflation, and inflation's really high. So I'm thinking about those types of things. Trades are never going to go away. People are always going to need skilled tradesmen. And I think we're at a time right now where there's more opportunities for that than ever before. Building is still happening everywhere. I mean, you drive down through Nashville, and I mean, the amount of work that's going on in the city is incredible. You come to the outskirts, the amount of houses that are still going up is absolutely incredible. And you know how hard it is to find somebody to do a project for you? I've been trying to get a door replaced in the back of my house, and I need some masonry done along with that. That's the only reason I'm not doing it myself. But I need some masonry. I can't find a mason. It's impossible.
Yeah.
Absolutely impossible. So there's trades out there that can make a really good salary and not have the debt. And you can get those skills in school. You can get those skills in high school. You can find yourself a trade school and be well on your way. So yeah, I mean, for me, as I look at Bryce specifically, possibly Kendall, I don't know. I don't know what the future holds. But you know, for Bryce, I think the days of pushing your kids towards college are over, at least for me. Because I think there's a lot more opportunities for them by not going there.
Well, the stats back it up. And college tuition or college enrollment is down 15%. There's less and less kids going to college. It's a business. It's a business. It's a scam. Unless you're going to school, and we've said this before, unless you're going to be a lawyer and you got to have the degree, or you're going to be a teacher or a doctor or an engineer and you got to do it, you need kids these days, they need life skills, right? They need life skills. And you mentioned technical high schools. Where we grew up, there was a great technical high school right down the street, OWTS, right? It was frowned upon. When you went to the regular high school, they used to call the kid tech raggies because they went to Wolcott Tech. Guess what? Those kids are laughing all the way to the fucking bank when they graduate high school and they're going and getting a job paying them $30 an hour to start off. I mean, instead of going into college debt. And I think this stems to the major national problem that we have, and it's just the flat out laziness. People are so lazy now, and we can go so many different avenues, and we're probably going to hit a bunch of different topics because there's statistics that I want to throw out in today's show about trades and versus college and all that other stuff. But if we want to look at the core root, your dad and my dad are blue collar to the core, right? They are not white collar people. My dad, you know, his dreams of playing pro baseball ended when he had a compound fracture in his leg. So you know what? My dad's been operating an excavator since he was fucking 18 years old. And guess what? It's more than paid the bills and put us through school and taking care of his life. And he lives a good life. You know what I mean? Being a blue collar guy. And there's nothing wrong with that. But there was a time where being blue collar was frowned upon. And I don't remember the exact dates, you know, the years, but there was a time when it was like, everyone 80s have to go to college, have to go to college, have to go to college. Don't be a freaking brute. Don't be a grunt your whole life and, you know, be a ditch bitch or whatever they want to call you. But you mentioned Mason, right? You don't need some Mason work done. The fucking demand for Masons right now is up 45% because you know who were Masons? Old Italian and Irish immigrants that came to this country, became American citizens, and they worked with their effing hands, right? That generation's gone, Dave.
It is gone. We used to, when we were in Connecticut, we used to know a couple skilled tradesmen that we used for a lot of stuff. I had a drywaller, an Italian guy.
Yep.
Great. Had a mason, an Italian guy, right? It was great. But where we grew up in Torrington, it was a heavy Italian population that went there. So that kind of stands to reason why that was the case. But you just can't find it anymore. I can't find it here. I can't find people to do anything, even if I wanted them to. I mean, like I said, I do most stuff myself, but it's so hard to find somebody these days. And so the demand is there. And I think talking about what you were going back to there about how it was kind of looked down upon, frowned upon, kind of as we were coming through school, it was like, oh, we want our kids to go to school. We want our kids to go to college. We want them to have a better life than we did. And I completely understand that. And I think college was different at that time. I think the idea of it was different. Um, and at that point, it was like, oh yeah, you need to have a degree. You gotta, you gotta be able to go into a job interview and show this, show that. Do you know what got me my first job at ESPN? Do you know what got it for me? Sealed the deal.
No.
It wasn't the skills I learned at Eastern Connecticut State in the TV production group there. It was the fact that I had worked for 4 years for the Home Depot. I did a bunch of different jobs. I got promotions. I raised myself up, and I was working there full time by the time I interviewed at ESPN. And that's what my interviewer told me. He goes, I just love the fact that you've worked at Home Depot for so long. We're going to give you a shot.
Yeah.
That's what got me the job there. It wasn't the education. The jobs I've had since haven't looked at my college education at all. And I don't think when you're coming out, like if you're coming out of high school and you're like, what do I want to do? Like if you're a creative, go build a portfolio, work with people, work for local businesses for free, do creative work for them. They love it. Create an ad for someplace, social media presence, create a website, whatever it may be. Create something, create a portfolio for free. Do it while you're in high school. Do it while you're living at home. Mm-hmm. Do it while you have no responsibilities. Because when you go into a job interview, you don't have to have a degree anymore in that. Now, if you do, maybe that's a little icing on the cake. But if you have a great portfolio, if you have great experience, great references, you're going to have just as much of an opportunity at that job as somebody who went to a 4-year or advanced degree school.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. And I think experience, especially in today's day and age, because kids are so fucking lazy, experience is everything. Like I don't hire anybody, but I read people really well. And you can tell the kids that, they get it, you know what I mean? Versus the kids now that are hermits and live on their cell phones and don't talk to anybody anymore. And that's a big difference. And as well as anybody now, like, yeah, that college degree doesn't really mean anything anymore, because you'd rather hire someone with experience or someone that's motivated to do the job. I would rather hire the kid that, has worked his ass off since he graduated high school, that's motivated to do the job, and that you can teach him the job, versus some kid that went to a university and said, here, I'm the same age as this kid, but I have this piece of paper. Because that is really a huge difference. A 22-year-old kid that's worked at Home Depot for 4 years versus a 22-year-old kid that just graduated from XYZ university and says, here's my piece of paper. I deserve the job over this guy. It ain't happening. It's not happening. And there was that time. Yeah, there was that time that it mattered, but it doesn't matter anymore. It really doesn't. You listen to all the experts. You have a great job expert that you work with. They don't care about that anymore.
No, it's not a priority. But if you're in that situation, there's so many avenues that you can succeed at. Just go in and be an apprentice somewhere. Offer to be an apprentice. Start learning for very minimal salary. Learning the job. Learning from those people that provide that teaching for you, and also help give you that skill set. Now, who knows? You may continue on at that place and continue to grow, but you can take that experience and go anywhere. And hey, how about this? What if you go start your own business? You gain the experience, the skill set. You learn from these companies, and you go and you create your own business. And now you're an entrepreneur. Now you're creating your own business at scale. And I think the future is endless there. It doesn't matter anymore, especially at these companies now where we're starting to see a divide, right, between the pro-America freedom companies and everybody else. And quite honestly, it's so hard to find just people that work hard now, and that don't have an entitlement about them. That if you're just willing to work hard, pretty much any company is going to give you a shot. To prove yourself. Because it's very low risk.
Yeah, if you just show up, to work and work, you have such a great experience.
Yeah.
And the other thing about trades, carpenters, plumbers, painters, masons, electricians. The other reason why I think it's such a great idea, and we've talked about Bryce, maybe in 10 years, going and getting his, his apprenticeship job and working his way up and then becoming a foreign, and then becoming a general contractor, whatever the case may be. It's job security. The lack of people in the job, right? It's supply and demand. The job security that you have going into a trade currently, if you're a parent, a father of a teenage kid, boy or girl, And it's not just guys, it's not girls too, because my next door neighbor here, his daughter is 18. She's literally going to heavy equipment operator school right now because she doesn't want to go to college.
That's cool.
How fucking awesome is that, dude? She's going to be a boss, and she's going to be moving dirt and an excavator, bulldozer. She's going to heavy equipment operator school. And it's a beautiful young lady that's doing it, versus you always think it's the kid that always plays in the dirt and always has the Tonka trucks and shit. Nah, it ain't that way. You know what I mean? And the job security is the biggest thing, because there's no help. You're literally guaranteed to find a job. Okay. Since the beginning of this year, Dave, since the beginning of 2023, there have been 770,000 job postings for skilled trade workers and or apprenticeship jobs where they're willing to hire. That's almost 1 million job opportunities. And that's only from like the main websites, right? The Indeed and all that other world. That's not talking about behind closed doors, word of mouth referrals. That's set, dude. 750,000 job openings based on 95,000 companies across this country for skilled tradesmen or people that are willing to work in the trades. That is an unbelievable amount. And you mentioned masons. 45% demand has gone up for stonemasons, 23% for carpenters, 18% for construction workers. I mean, those numbers are every single trade, virtually every trade out there has had double-digit increase in demand for workers. I mean, you want to be a fucking carpenter. And the other thing is that nobody really talks about. A lot of these jobs, depending on who you work for, whether you start your own company or you don't, a lot of these big companies that you can go work for to be a skilled tradesman, these are union jobs. These are not shit jobs. These are great jobs with benefits and retirement plans and holidays. And you're not just a slave, dude. You are literally, it's a career. You can be a union pipe fitter, a union carpenter, and you make a great salary doing these jobs.
Yeah, you do. I mean, you found in here that the trades start at a minimum of 45,000 a year if you're full time in a trade.
Yep,
that's an incredible number. I mean, when I got out of school, now granted, this was
20 years ago,
almost 20 years ago when I started full time, but I was making significantly less than that my first couple years in my profession, and I had a college degree, significantly less than that. Now, I was lucky in the sense that my parents paid for my education, so I didn't have college debt. But when you add college debt into this, right, the average college debt for undergrad, a little over 32,000. Private university for a 4-year undergrad, just under $60,000. So you can come out of school with that much debt and have probably an equivalent salary to somebody 18 coming out of high school, going into the workforce, making 45 and 45 is probably the bottom, with no debt at all. I mean, you got a great head start right there. You got a great head start. I don't regret anything in my life. I'm very happy with the things that I've done and the opportunities I've had, the places I've gone, and the things I've seen. But when you look back, it's like, wow, had I done this, I wonder what life might have looked like had I picked a different route. Yeah. Seeing where we are now, it's interesting. It's interesting to think about. And as we think about our kids, what does that look like for them? And to be able to share those experiences with them, share the information with them, and help them find something that they're, quite honestly, they're just passionate about. I mean, I hope Bryce continues to be passionate about construction, carpentry, whatever it is that he might like to do someday, because he's a people person too. He's definitely a people person. He loves people. He loves chatting. We used to call him the mayor of Jaron Canyon Way when we were in Arizona, because he just go around and talk to everybody. I think he would be very successful in a trade and have his own business someday and thrive. So I certainly don't want to confine him to the thought of, you've got to go to college. You've got to go to college. You've got to go to college, because there might be something better for him outside of that. And the same thing for Kendall and your girls too. I mean, it's just a fact.
And the other thing that you said in the past too, which is awesome, you were lucky enough. So was I. We didn't pay for college education. We were lucky enough. But like you said, you're not going to force Bryce to go to college. And if, he goes to trade school and then he wants to start a business, that's your equivalent for him of sending him to college, right? You're going to help him get that business started off the ground. And it's, you're doing the same thing. But the college debt thing, obviously there's 1 point something trillion dollars in student loan debt. And that's why like these numbers that I found online, these are like real statistical numbers of the 30,000 at a public university and 60,000 at a private university. And I get that, like, but that number, like what nobody understands is that's just not a number. Okay, I graduated, here's $59,000 in debt and I just pay it off. Dude, that number, you're getting whacked with interest. So that's just the debt. That's not including what what it's going to take to actually pay that off. Because if you just use 1% of the loan amount for your payment every month, you're talking a $600 payment a month getting out of a four-year university. And that's just paying the minimum. Well, guess what happens to that $60,000? There's a freaking X number of percent interest put on that payment. And now you're paying that interest. And if that 60 turns into 120 by the time you pay the fucking thing off.
Yeah. Oh, for sure it does. It gets to be an astronomical amount. So yeah, you've got far more than what you see on paper, which you actually got to deal with. And PSA for everybody, if you weren't paying attention, weren't listening to the last couple episodes, student loan payments start again October 1st. So be ready. They're coming.
Yeah. No, yeah. Well, the interest is already kicked back in.
One additional thing interest kicked back in on the 1st of September, but payments are kicking up October 1st. So be ready. One of the other things we've talked about, Brett, and it's not a trade, but it's a skill for sure, and you don't need to go to school for it, is a sales job, right? We talk a lot about sales being the way to make probably the most money you can make quickly, if you pick the right job. Now you're in a 100% commission job. I tried my hand at it, a couple different things over the last few years. Here's my word of advice. If you're interested in that, do it when you're young. Do it when you get out of high school. Get your real estate license. Get your mortgage license. Go sell whatever it is. Learn to sell. Learn to sell when you're young, when you don't have any responsibilities. Because I know for me, this is what ended up pushing me out. The pressure ever got to me. It is what it is. When you have a family and you have someone counting on you, wife, kids, whatever it may be, you've got mortgage to pay, you've got, food to put on the table, you've got things you want to be able to do for your kids, it becomes a lot harder to do those things. You can't maybe put in the 20-hour days to get that career off the ground where you can when you're young, when you don't have those responsibilities. You can still do it. You're doing it. You're proof of the pudding right there. But would you it's got to be significantly harder now than it would have been had you started in this industry when you got right out of high school?
Yeah, I think it's a valuable life skill that everybody should know. Because to take words out of Grant Cardone's books and things like that, for those that love sales, you literally are selling yourself every day, no matter what it is. Right? You're selling yourself for someone to hire you, right? You got to sell yourself in an interview. You got to sell yourself to your future spouse, right? Hey, pick me. If you're a doctor, you're selling your services you're always selling, whether you think you're selling or not, you're always selling something. So the skill of sales is the greatest life skill. One of, you could argue is the greatest life skill that you could ever do. If you own a gym, you got to sell memberships, right? You got to, if you own a restaurant, you got to sell food. You're always selling something, no matter how no matter what spin you put on. I happen to sell mortgages, but if I had a piece of advice for anybody, I think the number one sales job that anybody and everybody should try at some point in their life, unless, they have their path already figured out, which I don't think anybody does. I think everybody should sell cars. I think everybody should learn the art of selling cars, because the reason why I say that, it's not because it's not the product, right? It's not the car. Because everybody needs a car, right? So you'll have your highest percentage of making sales if you sell cars, because just the numbers always stack in your favor, because people always need cars, right? That's a given. But what it does is it allows you to experience multiple people per day in different situations. You're going to have the cash buyer. You're going to have the fucking roach that is a 500 credit score that will drive anything off the lot that you can get them approved for. You'll have the master negotiator. You'll have the what's the interest rate guy. You'll have, I need a little bit more off the price guy, or the I'm just looking guy, or the, well, I'm going to wait, we're just really poking around. We're going to probably not buy for 6 months guy. You will come across so many different styles of human. That's why I think it's a great job, because you will learn how to react to multiple situations on the daily. You will be put in uncomfortable positions. You will be with people that are way smarter than you. You will work with people that are way stupider than you. You literally touch everything. You will learn how to actually use the tools of sales. How do you sell a feature on a vehicle? How do you sell safety on a vehicle? How do you sell fuel economy for a vehicle? You'll learn the art of negotiation, because when you get a car deal, you get a person in the box, as they would call it. You get them in the office to sit down, and you give them the first pencil, which is like, here you go. Here's what it looks like. You'll have the people that just flop and say, okay, sign the dotted line. And then you have the people that you're in the box for 45 minutes, an hour negotiating with. You got to get a manager turn. There's so many unique skill sets in the car business that make it awesome. So, and when I was in the gym business, when I left fitness back in 16, my cousin was in the car business, and he said, and I lost my job. The gym had closed down. The owners couldn't do it anymore, blah, blah, blah. And I called my cousin, and he said, get a car sales job. Apply to every car dealership in your town. Someone's going to hire you. And that's the other thing about being a car salesman. You will get a job. If you walk into a dealership and put your application in, as long as you're not a drug addict or a murderer or a felon, you're going to get hired. They will give you an opportunity. And that's what you need. In car sales, to get good at anything in life, you need at-bats, right? You need opportunities. And that gives you the highest opportunity percentage for what you're doing in the life skills. And who knows, maybe you make a career of it, because I know plenty of car salesmen that do really, really, really well. They make more than doctors. They make more than lawyers. They make more than, you name it. You name a profession. They do pretty well outside of Wall Street bankers. And like you mentioned, you will make more money in sales than any other position. Any other job. You make more than surgeons. You can make more than, like I said, lawyers. You make more than airplane pilots. You make more money in sales, because what happens with sales, it's commission, right? You get a percentage of what you're selling. And it really is truly an endless income stream. So even if you don't want to go to college, you don't want to do a trade, go get a sales job. We're just, today is mainly about the trades and the skilled labor trades and the demand for those jobs that are out there. But the sales job is just as important, because when you learn how to sell and you get that experience, you can get any job you want outside of those ones where you need the piece of paper. You can do anything if you learn how to sell.
And you'll be able to use that skill set. Like you said, you sell doing everything you do. You'll be able to use that skill set. If you do go into a trade eventually, say, hey, this is what I want to do. You open your own business. You're going to have to sell customers every single day.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have to sell yourself, your business, to your customers every single day. So it's such a valuable thing to learn at a young age that I think it's something that everybody should probably do. And what a great piece of advice to go do car sales, because it's so true, man. People are coming in all day long. All day long, you're getting at bats doing it. So,
and another thing about
what a great way to get some experience
with car sales. The customer comes to you. That's the other big reason why I say everyone should try car sales first, because the customer comes to you. You work your Rolodex, your friends and your family, and people that know you. You tell them what you do. Like, you can always get deals that way. But for the most part, most car sales, they come to you. Whereas if you're in real estate, or you're in mortgages like I am, or you're in, you have to sell hard. Medical sales, you can be really good, make a lot of money in medical sales, but you got to sell hard. Sometimes you got to travel, right? Mortgages, same thing. You have to sell yourself to the realtor and the customer. As a real estate agent, you got to sell yourself to the customer to get the listing, or to work with them when you get that freaking 10-second phone call where they pick up and say, how the hell did you get my phone number? In the car business, it's not like that. They come to you because you have the physical product, right? You have the actual product that you own. They have to buy it from you. You know what I mean? And that's the big difference when it comes from car sales versus all those other sales. What other business do the customers come right to you, and you get the at-bat to do it? That's the business. That's why when you start in sales, I always believe, start in car sales. It's going to teach you life skills like nobody else. The hours absolutely suck. They're the worst hours in the game. I know it because I did it. And I worked in the finance office, which when you get promoted from the sales part, but the hours are the worst. But that's why, do it before you have kids. Do it before you get married. Do it when you're 20, when you're 19. Go get a car sales job where it doesn't matter if you work till 10 o'clock at night, right? And you'll see the powerful life skills that you learn when you're doing it.
Yeah. Can't be afraid to work. You got to be willing to put it out there, do some different things, put in the time. But the opportunities are endless.
Yeah. And being in sales first, let's just say you do trade, right? You go to a trade school at night or something, do a sales job during the day. It's going to make you better at your trade because at the school, you're learning the trade. You're not learning the sales aspects of the trade. You're learning the trade itself to be a skilled carpenter or a HVAC guy. But if you did sales while you're doing the night school, or if you did sales before you did the trade school to put yourself through the trade school, you will come out with two skills. You'll know how to sell yourself and your product, and you'll have the skilled trade to be now just think of this. Think if you were a home builder or a carpenter that was a salesman too, right? And I hate the salesman, the snake oil salesman. Salesman gets such a bad rap. If you're just honest, you'll never be bad. That's the big key to sales, is being honest. But most people aren't. That's the problem. But if you had both of those skills and you were a carpenter or a plumber or a mason, dude, the world would be the opportunities would be endless for you. So, anything else you want to hit on skilled trades? Kids opting out of college to not go into debt. Anything from a budget standpoint? What do you think? Anything you want to hop on here before we get moving along?
Just to put it all in perspective, to really take a look at the options on the table and decide what's right for you and your family, and really just listen to your kids as they're coming up through high school, what they want to do. You can always go back to college. That opportunity is always there. Colleges are never going away. If they're not sure what they want to do, don't force them into college. It's not worth it. I enjoyed my time in college. I did. I had fun. I met some cool people. I don't really talk to any of the people that I went to college with anymore, though. I don't know. I just don't think kids need to do it anymore. And I think it's really worth looking at the options on the table because times have changed. Opportunities have changed. And I think trusting your kid to experience what they want to experience. Now, I wouldn't say just give them, when you talk about off years or, skip years and stuff. No, they've got to make a decision. You're either going to school to continue your education or you're going to work and you're going to figure that out. We're not just sitting by and passing time. There's that line in the sand there.
Yeah, and I think that parent aspect is huge because two things. Number one, if you go to a trade school and you get out and you're making 45 grand a year, 50 grand a year, and you're 18, 19 years old, and you can still live home, that's fucking huge because that's where you really get the step up. If we wanted to transform this conversation into the retirement talk that we talk about, there's no better situation than graduating from trade school, going and getting a job, making $50,000 a year, living rent free at your parents' house, and starting your investment in your retirement journey. That could be a whole topic for another conversation. But from the Full Force Father's perspective, yeah, dude, your kids can't be leeches. From personal experience, when I graduated high school, I didn't go right to college. Well, guess what? I had 3 fucking jobs because my dad said, if you're living here, you're working. You're not just going to live here for free and do nothing. Because I didn't know what I wanted to do, right? I had no idea what I wanted to do. So he said, that's fine, but you're going to work. You're going to go to work. And I did. I had 3 jobs. I did landscaping. I did a little security thing. And then I worked at a grocery store. I was working 75 hours a week when I was 18, 19 years old because I didn't know what I wanted to do. And my dad said, you're going to work. 2 years later, I decided to take a night class and then a second night class and yada, yada, and the whole thing. But, as parents, we can't be leeches to our kids that are, this generation of entitlement. You got to instill some fucking work ethic in them. You know what I mean? But also celebrate them. If they want to go to college, don't frown upon the fact that they want to go to college just because it may not be as advantageous as it was 25 years ago. But encourage them if they want to go into a trade. Encourage them to go into a trade. You know what I mean? Be there for them, but just don't let them be a lazy, entitled little shit.
And if they do want to go to college, that's fine. But encourage them to get a degree that they can use. Make sure they're taking classes that they can use.
Mm-hmm.
And also look at the opportunities for going to a community college. A lot of states will pay for community college for you in the beginning. Make sure that that's what they want to do. There's options there to determine what those real options are and allow them to do it in a way that doesn't cost a ton of money in the process.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. But well said. So moving on, let's wrap this show up today. Book recommendation time. Sell or Be Sold by the great Grant Cardone, Mr. 10X himself. If you're 18 years old, if you have a kid, no, let's say this, because we're full force fathers. I don't think there's a lot of 18-year-old kids that listen to our show. If you're a parent and your kid is unsure what they want to do, or they already know what they want to do, buy this book and give it to them. Give it to them as a graduation gift on high school. This book will never age. There's nobody better. Everybody knows who Grant Cardone is. There's other imposters out there that sell their selling systems and this shit and that shit. There's nobody better than him when it comes to selling and learning how to sell and ethically and all that other shit. So Sell or Be Sold by Grant Cardone is your book recommendation. Buy it for your kid. How about you have a young entrepreneur? We had an awesome thing last weekend where the girls had their craft fair, the Young Entrepreneur Craft Fair, where they were selling their keychains and bracelets and shit. If you got a young entrepreneur, there's not any like profane language in there or anything like that. And, a 13, 14-year-old, 15-year-old could read this book. It wouldn't be over their head because it's pretty basic shit. But if you have a kid that is very enthusiastic in sales or enthusiastic in entrepreneurship, buy them that book in high school and let them read it, because it will teach them lots of skills. Like that craft fair that we had to do, that was so cool. Like, it was all run by the kids. They had to do all their own money. They had to do all their own everything. The parents we were literally statues. We were just wallflowers watching our kids do it. Granted, it was 110 and miserable outside. Other than that, the event itself was great. You just see kids that create their own chapstick and their own lotion and their own dog leashes and collars and bracelets and food. And it was really, really cool to see it. But you know what? That ties into the sales, right? They had to sell their product to these people that were at the thing without our help. So Sell or Be Sold by Grant Cardone. Get it for your kids. Let them read it. Let them write down some lessons that they learned from it. I feel bad because I don't have the cover, because I take all the covers off my books because they get ruined. But yeah, Sell or Be Sold. That's it for me, Dave. You can take us home. Super excited that you guys listened. Share the show for us. Give us a 5-star review on wherever you're listening, and help us grow the show.
Yeah, everybody, continue to live the full force life. Take a look at those trades. Look at those options for your kids. Talk about it with them. See what they want to do. And if you happen to be a Mason in Nashville, feel free to hit me up. We'll see you next week.